What is up, guys? Welcome back to our second live developer Q&A here at Blizzard Entertainment. My name is Kevin, and we are excited to be back with you. Happy New Year, because it is January, and last time we were with you was December. So we are excited for great content for you today. One of the main pieces of feedback from our last show that we had from you, our community, was that you wanted to see more of the game. So I'm happy to tell you that we are going to be providing that for you today, including a live gameplay session with none other than Sean Day9 Plot, who is here with us in the studios, people. He's right there.
Hi.
You might even be able to hear his unmiked voice in the background.
I'll be on soon.
Yeah, he'll be on soon. So before I do that, a couple more housekeeping things, and I'm going to introduce our other fine guests that are here with us today. One, if you would like to have an impact on the battleground choice that we'll be playing in the live gameplay session later in the show, there will be a URL probably in the Twitch chat. You can click on and get your vote, get your voice heard. We want to hear what you think. Also, if you would like to submit questions for the Q&A part of the show, you can do that on Twitter using the hashtag HeroesQA. We're going to be taking your questions soon. But before we do that, let me introduce our guests. To my left, Mr. Kaeo Milker, senior producer on Heroes of the Storm.
Hi, Kevin. Excellent pronunciation.
Welcome.
It's beautiful.
Kaeo is Hawaiian, so his name is Kaeo. Some people call him Ko. That's wrong. Don't do that. Welcome, Kaeo. It's good to have you. Actually, I just said it wrong. Welcome, Kaeo. Sorry, it's hard to do. And to his left, Mr. Dustin Browder, game designer, Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft 2. Welcome back. You came back.
I did.
I'm impressed. Well, thanks for being here. All right, well, let's dive in. We have questions for you. Kaeo, I know the community hasn't heard from you maybe as much as someone like Dustin. I know your face and voice were in one of our intro videos. We got to see you for the first time, but give us a little bit of background. What's your background here at Blizzard, and you know, your role on the game in particular? You know, how are we working here?
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate enough to have been here for 12 years, a little over 12 years at Blizzard now. Started out, like a lot of people in our development teams have, in quality assurance, testing Warcraft 3 originally.
Ah, cool.
Did a stint in tech support, did a stint testing World of Warcraft in the early days. Also was the recruiter for Blizzard for a long time, building the WoW team, the cinematics team. Eventually, I transitioned into production. And I've been doing that for a little over 9 years now at Blizzard, almost exclusively on Team 1, which is the Heroes of the Storm team and previously the StarCraft.
Now, a fun fact that I found out about Kaeo is that he was the voice of the Tinker in Warcraft 3.
This is true. Thankfully, I didn't quit my day job after that.
Do you have a little bit of Tinker in you for us today?
Yeah, it takes 220, 221.
See, there you go. This is real entertainment, folks. Come back. We're going to do a third one of these. This is only the second. We're getting good. Well, cool, Kaeo. So tell me a little bit more about production and your role as senior producer. Those of you out there, I just got to give him some props. This guy has a very difficult job. This game is hard, and you have a hard job. Can you explain a little bit about what being a senior producer on a game like Heroes is all about?
Sure. I like to look at it as a fun job that's really challenging. But,
sure.
You know, there's a lot of moving parts with the game like Heroes of the Storm. My job primarily is to try to coordinate across all of our vast teams, both on Team 1, things like the designers, the artists, the programmers, our live team, our business teams. There are external teams that we work with extensively to get a game like this made. So I'm trying to kind of coordinate all the pieces, set some like overarching goals for our team, milestones for when we want to deliver things, and then help everyone prioritize the features and tasks that go into making all that stuff a reality.
Yeah, it's such a complex machine, and I think with a company like Blizzard that doesn't just make games in English, we make games in multiple languages, in multiple regions, it becomes infinitely more complicated.
It is definitely a global undertaking, but I am by no means doing this alone. So there are a lot of very talented people across the world that are working on this game.
That's
right
true. That's very true. It is a complex project with a lot of really talented folks working on it. So, and Dustin, tell us a little bit about Heroes when it comes to production for a company like Blizzard that is different, or I would say even challenging. This game, I mean, I can imagine that this game has a lot of nuances for a company like Blizzard that, you know, we haven't really experienced before as a free-to-play game. You know, a game that's sort of stepping into a space where people are expecting content at a regular pace.
It's not that different from what the WoW team does.
That's true.
No, it's different for us on Team 1. We don't have, we're used to, making the box product games, like StarCraft. We've been making those for 15, 20 years, I think, on this team. And so we're very used to those style of games for us. But the WoW team, for many years, the World of Warcraft team, has been doing constant patches, constant new zones, and constant expansion packs as well. But this is a little different in the sense that it wants to be a lot quicker and a lot more often with smaller pieces, but still try to maintain the same types of quality that we want to have for a Blizzard game. So it's certainly going to be challenging for us, especially on Team 1, to sort of learn the techniques that the WoW team has done, and then apply those to our game, what we're trying to create. You know, obviously they have maps and we have battlegrounds, right? They have zones and we have battlegrounds, and they might have changes to their classes, and we have something similar. And they do new monsters and new raid bosses, and then we have new heroes maybe as a similar thing. But we want to try to hit this at a very fast rate, so we're constantly providing new content for the community, new stuff to do, new ways to play the game. And as a designer, I think, as anybody on the development team, it's very exciting for us to get a chance to work on a game where, if we've got something that we want to do, we might be able to see that live in days, weeks, or a month. That could come out really quick. We had a great idea for a new hero. That could happen pretty soon, as opposed to the box product model where, well, that's a great idea. You'll see it in 2016, right, or whatever it is, right? So I think we get really geeked up about the idea that this stuff could really just happen if it's good enough, right? And we can polish it up in time. It can happen immediately. And so I think that's sort of the challenge for us, is getting used to that idea and then really embracing it. Certainly for us, I think it's been really exciting, really enjoyable.
Yeah, how do you take a complex machine like a game development team who sees this challenge ahead of them, and they're aware that it's different than what they're used to, but how do you get them to a point where they feel comfortable stepping into that space? I mean, what do you do at a practical level to gear up for that?
Yeah, it's a gradual process. So we've been, over many, many months here, trying to transition our team from thinking and working like a team that delivers games every couple of years and expansions intermittently, to a team that's going to be delivering content, constantly be updating this game, adding new features and content for people to enjoy to it. So I think it's really about practice and just that transition of, hey, this is a different way of doing it, but it's actually really fun and really gratifying, because instead of having to wait months or years for our content to get in the game, there's this kind of instant gratification of, here, enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, the KO's been really fighting this battle a lot, and the practice, I think, is right on. I remember there was a moment a couple of 6 months ago, I think it was, where we were about to go out with some kind of internal build. I don't remember exactly what build it was, and I was like, I need another week. I need another week to get this thing polished up. And Kay was like, no, we're going. The train is leaving the station. We're like, no, I need another week. And he's like, there'll be another train along in a minute. And I was like, oh, I see. There will be another train along in a minute. Because you're making box product, there's no other train, right? There's a patch, but that's not the same as I want to add a new mission to the game, right? Which is something we traditionally don't patch in. So the idea that you've missed the train was so distressing. I was ready just to go to Holy War to get on to delay that train so I could get on board. And then he pointed out, no, there's another one coming right after that one. Just sit down, finish doing what you're doing, and in 2 weeks from now, that week you needed, you'll have had it, and then you can put this in. And so building in that way, and him sort of enforcing those rules, right, and helping us practice this idea, I think has been hugely valuable to us as a team. At least it has been for me, right, and sort of understanding what we're trying to accomplish and how this wants to relate to this game with this community in this kind of environment.
Awesome, good job, I like it. So with a company like Blizzard and a game like Heroes, a game that covers all of this company's franchises, their top franchises, what is your relationship like with those other development teams? Do you have constant communication going on with them? Do you talk about the heroes that you're envisioning or planning within their franchise? What is that relationship like? Are there do's and don'ts? Are they like, hey, not this hero?
We should really talk to them, shouldn't we? That'd be a good idea.
Surely you talk.
We talk to them some. I think they trust us a lot with the heroes in this game. A lot of these heroes came out of Warcraft 3 before they moved into World of Warcraft. So I think there's a great sense of collaboration across the studio when it comes to these characters and these personalities and these locations. So they trust us quite a bit with these characters. A lot of these characters were invented, by a lot of the artists and writers and designers in this team in the first place. But for certainly, there's a bunch of stuff that we're doing that's new. So if we're working on, a hero, if we're working on a Crusader hero, for example, if we were to start that up, we would obviously be if
everybody.
We worked on a Crusader here, we would go to the Team 3 guys, and show us what you're doing with the Crusader. What do you think the essence of the Crusader is? What's the most important part of the Crusader to you guys that you think? Because we're not going to do all, however many powers and runes the Crusader has. We're going to do something a little bit smaller than that for the PvP experience. And so we got to distill the core elements of what matches the Crusader. And then obviously when they play these things too, because we can turn these things around pretty quickly. So when they play the Barbarian, they'll send us notes like, hey, I think the Barbarian, you're missing the boat here on something you can do, and then we'll sometimes change it around. So it's pretty collaborative back and forth with these things. But I think a lot of the studio really does trust us, at least up until now. We'll see how it goes going forward. Yeah. They know that the game takes place in the Nexus. It's this kind of bizarre fantasy world that's not connected to our core fiction, not connected to our lore, and so they don't really worry that we're going to do something strange with the story for these characters because it's kind of out of universe. It's sort of out of bounds in its own space.
Very cool. So what are you guys working on right now? What is the focus and work sort of pointed towards?
So like milestone or release-wise, we're actually currently in the midst of what's been an ongoing internal alpha with the developers and employees of Blizzard. And they've been playing the game, giving us lots of great feedback. We've been refining our core gameplay experience, our metagame, trying to stand up all the pieces that we need to make this game work and trying to test them against the mirror that is Blizzard. And that's kind of a special thing to get reflected back at us, is having them check this game out early in preparation for when we feel like it's going to be ready to have the public start coming in and play it.
Now, when you say metagame, you're meaning all that stuff outside, like when you're actually playing the game, the stuff that happens in between.
Right.
Okay. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to talk a little bit more about that. I don't know when we're ready to talk about that, but
not quite yet. We're still got a lot of feedback coming in from the studio. A lot of stuff's kind of a mess. So
cool. And how about you, Dustin? What is your focus?
There's a bunch of stuff that the team is working on. I mean, the art guys have been doing just ridiculously cool art. And they keep leveling up the art across the whole game. They did a pass the other day. I don't think it's going to be in this build, but they did a pass on the colors that was just amazing. They just affected the way the whole game looked and felt. And the skins they're doing for this game are ridiculous. You guys seen a bunch of these at BlizzCon, but it keeps getting just more and more out there and more interesting, and they keep doing these crossover characters, and it's just, the stuff they're doing is absolutely amazing. On the design side, we're working really hard on the new user experience right now. We got a couple of guys really pounding away at that. We had some new user testing where we bring in people, they work in the company, but they've never played our game or any game in the genre. And we sit them down and we say, hey, and we just watch and we just, oh God, and we cry and weep as things go horribly wrong for us. But then they, if they get through it, we're like, oh, we won that part, right? And then we make changes, and we bring back brand new people next week, and we say, okay, we had a bunch of fixes. You guys have never seen this game before. Go, and we see what happens. And so our first test was last week. It went pretty well, all things considered. We have a bunch of fixes to make, so we're working really hard on that. The other thing we're working hard on is hero design. So we've got these battlegrounds, and they're very cool, and they're really changing the way we're playing. We're changing up the battlegrounds a little bit here and there, making tuning fixes as we get to play with the company in our alpha. But one of the things we really want to get to is more heroes like Abathur. We had Abathur, which is this monster from Heart of the Swarm from the Zerg campaign. And we had this guy, and he's kind of a commander hero. He doesn't really fight, but he's all over the battlefield, helping his allies everywhere. And because we've chosen to do team leveling, because we've made a bunch of core choices about how this game functions, it gave us the creative freedom to create a character that doesn't really ever fight personally, but he helps everyone else engage and destroy the opposition. So that was really cool, and we got a lot of props at BlizzCon. Everyone was like, whoa, Abathur, this is cool. And we looked at our surveys after, like, Abathur, and we're like, okay, that worked. What else? What else can we do? I don't think it's enough to say we got Battlegrounds and Abathur. Like, it's got to be more than that. So we're working really hard on trying to create more of these heroes that are kind of out of the box from what you're used to playing in this genre. Heroes that sort of play in fundamentally different ways and stretch your understanding of what this kind of game can really be. And so, like I said, Abathur was a big win, but we've got to do more. We've got to try to do better. And we're going to work really hard and just pray that we can have the right ideas and the right implementation come together to create heroes that really give you a new way to experience the genre.
That is awesome. I can't wait to hear about those heroes. Sounds very, very interesting. Okay, guys, well, we have gabbed enough. I think we're going to start turning to your questions on Twitter. If you're out there and you want to ask questions to these guys or myself, because, hey, I got answers for you, just ask. That's all you got to do. That's right, Sean. He's right there. That's day 9. Okay, so we're going to take your questions. If you'd like to submit your questions, #HeroesQA on Twitter. Let's do some now. Actually, before we turn to questions, can we show that straw poll real quick? Yeah, there we go. So if you would like to have an impact on what Battleground we play in the live gameplay session after we finish taking your questions, you can do that on the straw poll URL, which you will probably find in the Twitch chat. Just check out Twitch chat and vote. I think right now the running winner is Haunted Minds by a pretty significant margin. So if you want something other than that, please get on there and vote. Let us know what you think. Okay, let's take our questions here. I'm going to do my best with these Twitter names, people. StarCraft ESP asks, are you testing new maps with different PvE objectives than the current Battlegrounds?
No. But we're taking a little break from Battlegrounds right now. We've got enough Battlegrounds. We feel like we can go to a beta with these and see how these goes. You know, these Battlegrounds did well for us at BlizzCon, very well for us at BlizzCon. Everybody seemed pretty excited about the stuff that we were doing, and we've tested them further in the alpha. You know, Dragonshire was an example of a map we made a bunch of fixes to, right? And we're not quite ready to show it again because it's back in the pipe, getting cleaned up based on these fixes, which is why not in the poll. Yeah. But we feel like this is enough to go out to the world with, and most of our map guys are focused on new user experience right now. They're going to come off of that, and they're going to go back to maps.
Cool.
And we'll be developing more maps going forward. We're not also quite sure yet how many maps we need for the game to feel like you've got enough variation. Obviously, if we put out 37 maps, you might go, I don't even know what this game's about. Like, it's just insane. So there is an upper number as well that's just too big. And then there's a lower number that we feel like for our game is just too small. So right now we've got 4. We're going to try that, I think, initially and see how that goes. I could imagine that maybe 6 or 7 might be better, but it might not. And I don't know for sure. With StarCraft, we had so much experience coming from, you know, StarCraft and then Brood War and then in Warcraft 2, even before that. This team had so much experience on what felt right for a map count for the game to feel fresh and without feeling just chaotic and uncertain. And in this case, these maps are so much more intense. We don't really have that experience. We don't really know in this case exactly. So we're guessing right now that the 4 we have are probably enough, at least as initial offering.
Sure.
And we need to focus more on Heroes. We need to focus on this new user experience. And then in a couple of weeks to a month, I think when we're done with that new user experience, I think we'll start experimenting with more maps. Even then, I don't know if we'll add. We might just have more maps that we end up swapping out if, you know, when we go out with a beta or an alpha and the community goes, your fixes of Dragonshire were garbage. This is still terrible. Like, okay, right? And then we can drop it and sub something new, or we might tack on.
But doesn't talk like that, Dustin.
Well, sometimes they, you know, if it's bad, they could be mean.
Nice.
Anyway,
no, I'm just kidding. Love you guys.
But we'll see what happens. But right now we're not really focused on more Battlegrounds. But it's a great question.
Cool, awesome. All right, let's take some more. This one at Brillian CTR. How many specialist heroes is it feasible to have on your team?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. That's an interesting question.
I'm not sure I'm exactly the guy to know for sure. We don't usually run more than 1 or 2, right? And it depends on the 1 or 2. Like, you can run Abathur with maybe someone like Tinker on the team, I would say, and still be pretty effective. If you run, and sometimes you can run double siege. Like if you run Sergeant Hammer, our siege tank, you know, again with like Witch Doctor, that's probably okay. I think if you ran 3, you'd start to feel a little thin. You know, these guys, they don't have the firepower to really drop enemy heroes very rapidly, and they don't have the endurance to stand up in a big team fight. So I think you would start to run into trouble with 3, but it might depend on the 3, and we don't really know. Right?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing as we get deeper into alphas and betas what kind of combinations are viable, and we'll kind of watch that and see.
Yeah.
We haven't really tested some of the insanity. Like, what happens if you go all 5 specialists in siege and you all drive middle lane? The first, what happens, right? Like, we haven't tried some of that wackier stuff yet because we're just trying to see that the basic stuff kind of works. But I kind of want to try that today now. Maybe see what happens. But I think generally speaking, the answer to your question is about 1 to 2 is the most practical.
Cool. Very good. All right, this one from Mike Metcalf. Can you explain the talent system in more detail? How many ways can each hero be played?
That's a really good question.
That is.
The reason KO's smiling is he knows that we're currently redoing the content for the 910th time on the talent system. So we're very happy with the structure. As you go up levels, you get access to tiers, and then there's things in those tiers that are meant to be played off against one another. So we can offer you 2 things that are affecting the same power. And if you double stack them, it would be so broken we couldn't allow it. But we can offer them as discrete choices, right? We can have this or that. Which version of Snipe for Nova do you prefer, right? And you can make those options. So that's felt really good to us. Currently, we have a lot of stats in the list of things you can choose. And one of the things we found is every time you, and this is so obvious, right? And everybody will be out there laughing at me about this, but every time you offer up something like stats, so plus 400 health, or something kind of clever that alters your core abilities, well, guess which one you're going to choose? Plus 400 health. Thank you very much. That's what I need in order to survive that team fight in 9 minutes. And there's a tribute spawn, and I need to live, right? So, a lot of the stat choices we were offering, while kind of altered the way you play, also were interfering with some of the more interesting choices. The other thing they did as well, in many cases, there was a right answer, right? There wasn't really like, you could play Demon Hunter as an ability power Demon Hunter, but attack damage was the right answer, right? And so we liked the idea that there were creative builds out there, but it wasn't really creating the flexible system we wanted, where you could, play the heroes a number of different ways. So that's kind of going back into formula in the sense that we like the structure, but the actual content we're going to noodle with a little bit longer. And I don't know if this experiment's going to work out. I mean, this is literally, we talked about this 3 or 4 days ago, right? And so what I'm saying now may not be true in a couple of weeks, but we definitely felt like what we had was not as flexible. It didn't create what this person is asking for. I think rightly asking for is there going to be enough flexibility in the system that I can really get into a hero and I can play it one day for 5 or 6 games, then I can play it another way for 5 or 6 games, and then 10 games later I can discover a third way.
Yeah.
You know, that's a combination of something else something I didn't even think of before and add it. The other thing I'll say too is we're probably going to come out when we go out into our beta, whenever that is, that with a limited set of talents so that we can really focus and test these, but the system is designed to add. The system is designed to grow. We can add as many of these as makes sense for the game for as long as we want to. And the whole thing is set up, as everything is in this game, as we talked about earlier, is everything, all the systems are designed so we can keep adding to it without it feeling kind of janky and awful. Like we keep adding to it and it just keeps feeling more and more interesting as we go. So we'll probably start with a smaller set just to make it kind of clean so we can understand what we're doing. And then as we learn more and more about the game, you'll see us add more and more talents. But the system is definitely under construction. We're definitely working on it pretty hard right now. I mean, you can play it right now and it's totally playable and you're going to see it played today and it works. But we feel like the choices could be more intense.
Fair enough. Thanks. All right, let's do another one. This one from @HeyBluePour. How do you view the support role in Heroes with shared team experience? Will we be seeing more offensive support play? Can you spec these support roles offensively?
You can.
Yeah.
You can. Tassadar is almost purely spec DPS these days. Like we've kind of joked, is like, he even support anymore? You can totally spec them a more an offense or a defensive role, and there's often different ways you can support as well. For example, Uther, I think it's Uther, has the ability where he can heal people based on attack damage, right?
Oh,
so he's hurting people, he's kind of healing his allies around him. So there's different ways you can spec these guys. So we will definitely have heroes, I think, that are more optimally played. Dude, just be the support. If you want to be a tag, okay, but you should be the support. And then we have heroes like a Tyrande as well, who's got some range, right? It's like, well, no, there's definitely an offensively oriented build here that you can take if that's what you feel like your team needs or what makes sense.
Oh, that's very cool. Awesome. Okay, what heroes do you like to play?
I've been playing across everything right now because I'm trying to get exposure to it all.
I see, yeah, just
my kind of standard players or heroes that I'm playing a lot are Gazlo, the Tinker.
Right.
I play a lot of Kerrigan.
Dude, you own me up with Kerrigan.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this guy just crushes with Kerrigan. He's got this combo of abilities. It's just like...
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like to get variety in each of the roles and try different builds with them too right now.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's do this. At Hotscast, what's up, guys? Thanks for all your content. Very cool. Which are your favorite? Oh, look at that. We just did this. Which are your favorite heroes to play? Meant for the specific devs on the live Q&A, not team wide. So, I don't know if those. I asked you what you've been playing, but would you say those are your favorite? I'm assuming you.
Yeah, I kind of fall in love with one, and I'll play it really extensively. And then right now in our metagame, there are little carrots that make me want to try other heroes, so I'll switch over. And what I keep finding is that I fall in love with the next hero I go to, and then I stay with them for a while until the next time. So I'm actually really enjoying the diversity of them right now. I also want to be able to understand them all, especially with what I'm trying to do in the game. But I mean, right now I absolutely love Gazlo. Like he's just wicked on the map mechanics and stuff. He drops his turret. I love to just kind of set traps and get board control on large areas of the map using Gazlo, and I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
That's awesome. Very cool. What about you, Dustin?
I was playing a lot of Sonya the Barbarian and a lot of Nova, and now I've switched over to Sergeant Hammer quite a bit, the siege tank hero.
That's my jam.
And I kind of we go back and forth between Sergeant Hammer, which is very technical hero. Like you really got to get your position just right and know what you're doing. And if I get sort of late in the night and I'm getting a little sleepy, I'll switch over to Raynor, who's a little bit more flexible. He's a little more forgiving in how he plays. He's sort of designed that way. We built him as a more forgiving hero. There's a lot of strategy still to him, but if I'm a little sloppier, if it's 11:30 at night and the kids are going to be up at 6, I'm like, okay, I can just play some Raynor. That works for me in that moment. So I've been enjoying sort of both of those characters I think right now. But yeah, Sergeant Hammer is sort of the go-to when I really want to get into it and really experience the game, because you really got to position just right to set up that siege mode and really know where you're sitting. And like the Tinker, you can set up some ferocious traps for people. Really set up a position, put out your mines, get yourself into the shrubs, set up a position, and just annihilate like a soft DPS character. A demon hunter comes running in, and they'll air assault before they know what hit them. Right, so it's really fun.
What about you, Kevin? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. I like to play Sergeant Hammer as well, for the same reasons Dustin just mentioned. All right, let's do another one. Oh, this one from Squishy out there. What's up, dude? Watch your stream. So, how do stealth mechanics work? Are there both stealth and invisibility effects? example, Zeratul and Nova. Is there a difference between those stealths?
Right now we're only using stealth, and the reason we're doing that is, again, for sort of clarity and simplicity, so you see that somebody's stealth in the game, you understand how the rules work. And so how they work right now is, and this has been pretty successful for us for a long time, so I expect it will continue this way going forward. The stealth character can move around freely. There is a little shimmer on the character, so you can spot them. If you tag them with an ability, which usually requires an AoE or a skill shot, that will end the cloak, end the stealth effect, and then you're free to auto-attack and do whatever else you want to on them. If they shoot or do anything, they come out as well. So it's kind of like a Romulan bird of prey from the old Star Trek, right? If you do anything, you're out, right? And you can be seen. So it's really funny when we first put that in. I think everybody on the design staff, we were interested in it. We like the simplicity and clarity, but there was a lot of doubts, myself included. It's like, well, I'm going to see the shimmer, and this is dumb. Like, you're not really cloaked. Like, what does it matter? And the more we played, the more we found that you're not as good as you think you are. Like, even the best players in the team will miss a Zeratul, especially in a team fight or whatever. They'll be like, yeah, but right? Because there's so much going on. Sure, when you're alone in a lane, 1v1ing, right? I remember these cost no energy. There's no cost to being cloaked.
Yeah,
Nova's just cloaked. Zeratul is just cloaked, right? That's what he is. He's just stealth all the time. So there's got to be that trade-off. But in a team fight, any kind of confusing situation, we found even the best players will miss that cloaked character coming up behind them, and they'll suddenly just get a knife in the back or a bullet in the head, and they're just down. So it's been pretty cool for us. It's got some nice simple mechanics that make it really clean and fun to play.
Very cool. All right, guys, a couple more questions here. Then we're going to get into our live gameplay session. Pound Heroes QA if you have more out there. This one from JK Kennedy TV. How extensive of a spectator mode could we look forward to?
So we've started with. There's a spectator mode you guys will see today. It's very early, obviously. It's rough. It's just kind of the beginnings of what we need to make it functional. It's something that we'll continue to build upon. It's this game is built on the same technology that StarCraft 2 is built on. So there's a lot of flexibility actually with customizing that, both for us and ultimately for players to be able to customize themselves and make really cool, custom observer modes and things like that they'll be able to have on it.
I think that was one of the best success stories from Heart of the Swarm that I loved. One of the most, because I love watching esports, is having the fans be able to create, the players be able to create their own custom observer mode, where they decide what's being shown and where they'll be shown. And everybody kind of did a different thing, and there seems to be some consensus kind of how it should be, but it's so nice. Like, they did such amazing work. These guys are the experts, right? These guys are the ones who have to broadcast this stuff constantly, and they know how they want it laid out for them, and they know how they think their players, how their viewers want to see it laid out. And so that was a huge success for us. I think we'll definitely be trying to do the same thing for Heroes, putting out in a way where we'll have a default, and the default will work, and we'll do our best to make the default as good as we can make it. But I expect you'll probably see some pretty cool innovations coming out of the community when they get a hold of the Observer replay editor. Really.
Definitely. Shout outs to Ryan and Gameheart, all of those awesome community folks doing great things with maps and observer modes. Okay, a couple more here. This one from @IamCarlaire. I hope I got that right. Probably didn't. Got any news on the map editor? We kind of just mentioned it. Well, that wasn't really map editor. We're talking about observer modes, but thoughts on
it's definitely something we want to do.
Sure.
It's for us. It's figuring out how it works in the free-to-play environment right now in StarCraft. Right, we've got a certain amount of space we've allocated to you on our servers. We've got the ability, if you do something just horrific inside the game, something highly questionable, we can ban the map. We can even ban you if we have to, or remove your rights to publish. In a free-to-play environment, we have none of that power, right? So you could be just uploading all sorts of hideous things onto our service. We have no way to protect ourselves or our community from that kind of behavior. So we need to work out the rules for that. It's not impossible. Yeah. We're going to work out these rules. We just need to figure out exactly what they are and how we want them to function. And I think you'll see us moving forward with a map editor for this game.
That's awesome. Very cool. Can't wait to see what you guys make out there. This one from @HearthTrolden. Can we expect special interactions between different heroes? This is cool. Great question. Arthas, Illidan, Kerrigan, Raynor, and so on.
Definitely. There's actually the beginnings of this is in and working right now. You may actually hear some of this when you guys are observing today, but if like at the starting gate when the heroes align, if certain heroes, they all have this banter that they'll say back and forth, and it's very kind of IP specific, and Kerrigan and Raynor have some pretty interesting repartee there, and I think we want to build on that more. Like, also, when you kill certain heroes, there'll be really cool one-liners that they say that are really specific to the hero that they just killed. That's something that we love. That every time we experience it, we love it. It's something we want to keep building on and having really interesting interactions like that.
Totally. Blizzard, when we went out with the alpha with this stuff, we got, some people heard it, some people didn't, but the call was for more, and
more of
and this
that,
kind of suggestion. So we totally agree. We're going to do as much of this as we possibly can. We'll probably keep adding to it for years as we get more and more ideas, because it's been just an absolutely fun part of the game to hear these characters kind of, kibitz one another, both before, during, after a death, before the game launches. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it kind of catches you off guard. Well, like definitely the first time you hear it, but even after you've heard it before, it's like, oh, that's hilarious. It's really funny. Okay, let's do maybe 2 more of these questions, and then we'll jump into a game. This one from @myselfjonas. Are you planning to have maps for more players than 5v5? Has the thought of changing that number up a little bit across
It has
you guys?
definitely come across our minds a couple of times. We've had discussions about it. We don't have any maps built that way now, and we have nothing, as I said earlier, nothing on the Battlegrounds in the works that way, but I think it's a really cool idea, and I think we'll probably explore it down the road.
And if we don't do it, you guys hopefully will be able to do it with the map editor yourselves.
Totally.
Okay. This one from @Andre55516721. Hopefully that's not your phone number, because you might be getting calls. How much effort will you put into skins? Will there be different spell animations for maybe Mercablo?
I don't know about Mercablo. I know we're going to do this for some skins for sure.
Definitely.
I just don't know if Mercablo is on the list to get new ones or not.
Yeah, like skins are pretty kind of organic and passion-fueled endeavor for us. I think like a lot of the times there are just artists who really have a cool idea and really want to see it come to fruition, and they make a fun, cool skin. And where we go from there is kind of like the result of the way people rally behind that and how excited they are about various things they want to do to it. So I fully expect us to do some skins where the voices change entirely, the effects change. We absolutely will go that, and we'll run the gamut from some pretty basic skin changes all the way up to just some pretty intense ones where everything's different and it's a completely different character visually and sound-wise. And
And all these skins are just absolutely work of passion to these art guys. I mean, the art team is really just doing what they want as far as these skins. I think Karen and I are continually surprised. We just go in and go, oh, okay, let's do that, right? Like and it's already done, And so these guys are just working really hard at things that excite them, that geek them up, that make them laugh. And they're just putting it in the game. And that's what's one of the things I love about this game so much is we just get to sort of unleash our art stuff upon the world. Like these guys are doing such amazing work, and we just get to sort of put it out there and let them just kind of do what they want, and it works, and it's totally fine. And we don't have to say, it's not the way the Zerg look. You know what I mean? We don't have to do any of that. We can just let them go, and they're doing just amazing stuff, really fun stuff.
Very true. Okay, guys, last question from @WarlockGod. I really enjoy WoW Battlegrounds. However, MOBA's never stuck with me. Will Heroes be able to bridge that gap?
Yes.
Good answer, Dustin.
I hope so. We're going to do everything we can to make a game that appeals to as many people as possible. And we've certainly heard internally from a lot of players who said, I never really got into the MOBA genre. They are enjoying what we've built. But this is an internal group, right? These are obviously people who work in the studio. They're invested in our characters. They're invested in Blizzard as a whole. And so I can't say for sure, but our goal is to make a game obviously that has broad appeal as it possibly can. And we're doing everything we can to make that possible for our players.
All right, great. Well, guys, thank you. Thank you, community, for your questions. We are going to start transitioning over into our live gameplay session right now. But before we do that, let's take a look at our straw poll. You can probably see it on your screen right now. It looks like the winner is Haunted Minds. That's right. We're going to be playing on that one. So before we do that, we would like to bring our special guest, shoutcaster, personality, internet, mastermind, Mr. Sean Day9Plot.
I have this nice spot on my knees.
What's up, Sean?
Between you guys, it's so good to see you.
Sean, how much have you played Heroes of the Storm?
I've played a game.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I've played exactly one.
Okay.
It was on the tribute map.
Okay.
And I've seen Haunted Minds.
That's
and
good.
those are the things that I know. So I get to play the role of complete and utter newbie.
Okay, so real question, how much have you casted Heroes of the Storm?
I have not casted Heroes of the Storm.
Dude, I thought you were like a professional.
No, I mean, I'm a professional. If you want to provide me any early access to the game, I totally understand that.
Okay.
I would much appreciate that. Right. But yeah, I know I'm going into this fairly blind, so I think Dustin will cast, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do it live. Sounds good. Let's just do this live. All right, guys, well, we're going to take a couple minutes to get set up for our gameplay session, so don't go anywhere. Definitely tell your friends to tune in and jump on social media, let them know, catch what we're doing. In general, if you would like to follow us in the social media space, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we're everywhere with the moniker Blizz Heroes. So just go check us out, follow us, give us a like, subscribe. Many thanks to you guys for being here. You guys are not going to see KO or myself. You won't even hear our voices in the gameplay session. Actually, we might hoot and holler a little bit, but you will be hearing from these guys. So stick around. We'll talk to you soon. High fives?
High five.
Oh, are we doing it together like a little league team?